to my channel, and welcome to the first episode of the Book Log Chronicles. This is going to be a new kind of series on my channel where I review any novels or memoirs, any books, just not manga or graphic novel related. I'll be doing reviews this way. So I thought for these I would do the setup a bit different, where I'm just kind of sitting here talking kind of face to face with you guys. So I thought that might be a bit more casual and a bit more fun and be a change of scenery. So yeah, as always, before we get into it, I am drinking some coffee, which I showed you before in this mug that you guys have already seen as well. I am obsessed with this one, so you guys will be seeing it a lot. But the novel that we're going to be talking about today is Miracle Creek by Angie Kim. This was my pick for my first book of the month subscription, and I just got around to reading it, and oh my, I have a lot of thoughts as seen by all the tabs in here. So let's go ahead and get into it, and let's just cross your fingers for me that I can talk today, because last week's video was a mess. Oh my word, it was just such a nightmare. I couldn't talk for the entire time of that video. I kept tripping up and then editing. So let's just hope that this one turns out well and that I can get all my thoughts out there. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so kind of getting into it here, I do have my reading journal here that I will be referencing and looking at here on the side. So, oops, I have it upside down. And I'm about to drop it. This video is already off to a great start. So, did I have it upside down? I don't even know now. Okay, yes I did. Okay, so I will go ahead and point out the genre and those kind of general things about this. This is a murder mystery, so we're dealing with a arson as well as a murder trial. So yeah, I will go ahead and also mention and put up here the trigger warnings for this. This is a very heavy read. It's got some very dark themes, so I would kind of mentally prepare for that. It's not overly, I wouldn't say it's overly dark, but of course when we're dealing with a murder mystery and case, you're obviously undoubtedly going to bring up mental health issues and things like that, you know, things of the sort. So just kind of keep that in mind as we move forward. A couple of other things I want to mention are the kind of the writing style of this author in this book. We're dealing with alternating perspectives, so between chapters we are hearing from different different characters, and so we get all different kinds of perspectives from, you know, the victims to the defendant in the case. So we're kind of bouncing around a lot between that, but I think she did it really, really well to where it's not confusing and doesn't add too many layers, because we are also dealing with a non-linear timeline with this book. So along with the chapters, when we're switching between characters' perspectives, we are also kind of jumping back in time and then forward in time when we're at the trial, obviously. So yeah, something to keep in mind if that's not, you know, something that you enjoy reading. I guess also be mindful of that. But for me, I really enjoyed it. I think it kept the story interesting, and just kept it, kept me coming back in every single day. I cannot put this book down. So I think before we really get into this, I will go ahead and also point out my tabbing system. I have 5 different colored tabs. I don't take any notes in my books. I don't enjoy that. I think the book ends up looking a little bit messy, so I think the only thing I will be doing is tabbing. But I'll go ahead and show you the topics that I tabbed here, so that you kind of know what kind of story you're getting into. This is, like I said, it's a very heavy read. There's a lot of tension. There's a lot of confusion, as I've stated in here, lots of heartbreaking moments. So yeah, you can see they're red here. I'm surprised that there's not more red in this, because the amount of times I cried with this book, insane. So let's see, how shall I start this? So I think I will go ahead and mention some of the main characters in this book first. So the main characters in this, we have the Yus, who are a family of Korean immigrants. So we have Mr. and Mrs. Yu and their teenage daughter Mary, and they run Miracle Submarine. Well, Mr. Yu, Dr. Yu, he is the one kind of mainly overseeing the treatment and operating everything. And then we have the patients. We have like 4 main patients that we kind of hear from, and they are Henry, TJ, Rosa, and Matt. Matt is also a doctor. He is also referenced to as Dr. Thompson. And then we have the guardians for the other few characters, the other few patients. We have Elizabeth, who is Henry's mother, and she's also the defendant in this case. And then we have Kit, which is TJ's mother, and Teresa, who is Rosa's mother. And Janine, who is Matt's wife, and she is also Korean. Is she a Korean immigrant as well? I don't remember. I don't remember it being pointed out at all if she was, a Korean immigrant. But the last 2 that I'll mention, we have the prosecutor, which is Abe, so we hear a lot from him. And then we have Shannon, who is Elizabeth. She's her lawyer. So we kind of hear quite a bit from those 2 as well. But I guess I will go ahead and get into explaining what Miracle Submarine is. So Miracle Submarine is a hyperbaric oxygenation therapy device. And so, the patients kind of climb into these chambers and put on helmets that push out 100% oxygen at atmospheric pressure. So it's supposed to be some sort of like detoxifying treatment. And so we have the main patients. Their conditions are cerebral palsy. 2 of them have autism. And then we have Matt, who deals with infertility. So all of those conditions are kind of helped with by, this Miracle Submarine treatment. So that's kind of what the Miracle Submarine entails. So now that I have kind of explained what the Miracle Submarine is, and I've introduced you to a few of the characters, I thought I would go ahead and bring you into the story a little bit by reading you the first little bit of the book here. So I'll read you the first paragraph here of the first chapter. So the first chapter is titled The Incident, Miracle Creek, Virginia, Tuesday, August 26th, 2008. So the incident itself took place in 2008, but the trial was in 2009, a year later. So there's that bit. So I'll go ahead and start reading. My husband asked me to lie, not a big lie. He probably didn't even consider it a lie, and neither did I at first. It was such a small thing what he wanted. The police had just released the protesters, and while he stepped out to make sure they weren't coming back, I was to sit in his chair, cover for him the way coworkers do, as a matter of course, the way we ourselves used to at the grocery store while I ate or he smoked. But as I took his seat, I bumped against the desk, and the certificate above it went slightly crooked, as if to remind me that this wasn't a regular business, that there was a reason he'd never left me in charge before. So that's the first little bit there. Like I said, I feel like that kind of sets the tone for it, gives that a bit of an ominous feeling. So yeah, that's kind of where the incident starts. He leaves Young in charge of the submarine. The patients are in the chambers and they're sealed in there so they don't get to see what's going on in the rest of the clinic. So he asked her to just sit there while he checks if the protesters are gone. So that kind of paves the way for the crime to take place. So yeah, a whole bunch of crazy stuff ends up happening. And yeah, from there we go into the actual trial. And then, yeah, from there we just go back and forth in time, hearing from the different witnesses and then seeing what they were doing on the day of the crime. And yeah, I won't say too much past that because I don't want to give any spoilers. But yes, my jaw dropped so many times in this book. Okay, I'm going to get into my review now and my rating. So I gave this a 4.5 out of 5 stars. And that's pretty high. That's pretty high. It was borderline 5 stars, but I decided to knock it down that 0.5 because there were just a couple things in the ending, particularly that I feel I didn't particularly have an issue with, but I think it could have been handled in a slightly different way. Again, I can't really say what it is because it's a big spoiler. But that said, it didn't really bother me too much. It's still usually if an ending kind of has a bad ending that messes up the entire book or series or show, whatever it is, it messes it up for me. But with this one, it didn't bother me that much. So it was just a little thing that, I wish could have been done differently, but it's also not a big issue. So that's why it's at 4.5, still very high. I really enjoyed this. Great novel. I mean, this is just heartbreaking. Like I said, you feel so much for the characters, and the character development in this story is insane. I mean, because it has those alternating perspectives you get to hear from a variety of the characters. I feel like mainly you hear from the 3 U's and then Matt, Janine, and Teresa and Elizabeth. I feel like those are the main people that you hear from, and the changing of perspectives. So I think because of that, you get to see so much character development in this story, and it's just great. I mean, you see the deepest, darkest thoughts of everybody. You really see this facade that they put up in front of other people that are not within their inner circle, and then even what they deal with internally, not even letting other people know. It's a good reminder that everybody's going through their own things, and even if we have people in our close circle that we confide in, there are still things that are going on in our minds, like a mental battle of sorts. So it's just so crazy to read all of that and get to kind of see into everyone's mind. And like it says here, I believe in the synopsis, we get to hear their deepest, darkest secrets and thoughts, and it's crazy. And I think it was really well written. I liked the pacing a lot. I feel like I have heard some other reviews saying that it felt a bit slow, but for me personally, it didn't feel like that at all. I feel like every chapter had a purpose. There was no filler, I guess you could say, how there are filler episodes in an anime or in any show. I feel like there was no filler. I just feel like this was so packed with story and plot and just character development. I feel like nothing was wasted. I feel like the pacing was really great in my opinion. Not too fast, not too slow either. I've heard that it's Like some people thought that it was a pretty slow paced book. I guess I could see that, but the pacing for me, I really enjoyed it. I think it was, again, really, really well done, really well written, and I can't wait to read anything else that Angie Kim has, because this was her debut novel, by the way. I was just sitting there after I read this. I was just sitting there, jaws dropped, and just there were so many moments I would go into. My mom would be sitting next to me while I was like reading this, and like I would just start like tearing up, or I would just be gasping like, she'd be like, what? I'm like, I can't tell you, like, you need to read this book. So I will probably be handing this book off to my mom for her to read. That said, I really do recommend Miracle Creek by Angie Kim. Again, if you can handle this kind of story with the trigger warnings that I did give, and if you are a bit more mature, it's a very dark, has very dark themes again. So yeah, with that said, great book. Again, highly recommend. I can't say that enough times. But yeah, that wraps up this very first book log chronicle, the first episode in this series. So I cannot wait to get to more reading and getting more of these videos out to you guys. Again, I think this book is going to be kind of a jumping board for me to get back into reading. I have phases where I will be really into reading. I guess people will kind of question me that I don't really consider reading manga as reading. I wouldn't say I'm a reader based off of all of the manga that I read, just because it's got a lot of pictures. It's very art and picture driven, so to me it doesn't feel like I'm reading. It still is reading, I realize that, but to me it doesn't count as reading. For me, reading counts as, like picking up a book, like let's just say a novel, and reading that, just all words, no pictures. But yeah, I really think and I hope that this book brings me back into reading. So I already have a couple more novels lined up that I want to read and then talk about, so look forward to those. I hope you guys enjoyed this first reading log. So sorry if I was kind of all over the place. This is the first like dedicated video like review of a book or anything that I've done, so hopefully I get better at this, because I feel like there's definitely always room for improvement. So let me know what you thought of this, if you plan to read this or are now interested in reading this. So yeah, with that, as always, thank you guys so much for spending some of your time with me. I really do appreciate it, all the love and support that I've been getting here and then on my Instagram as well. It's just kind of overwhelming sometimes, even though I honestly do this for enjoyment, and it's not about the numbers for me, but when I do see the numbers day by day growing, it's overwhelming. So again, thank you so much, you guys, for enjoying the content that I put out, and I can't wait to release more. So yeah, anyways, have a great day, and I will see you guys in the next video.